Okay, so the most important thing that I'm going to tell you is going to be right now. I love writing. I feel like I can express myself best when I write. Having said that, please forgive me if I am not being able to convey what I'm trying to say with the utmost enthusiasm. I was very nervous about speaking at TED because, excuse me one second. Sorry about that. When I was told that I was going to be speaking at TED, I was extremely nervous. I was so nervous that I wrote 5 drafts in 7 days. I was so nervous that I'm extremely nervous right now also. Okay, so I'm going to try and stop shaking and I'm going to try and just do this, okay? Fine, concentrate. Okay, so I wrote 7 drafts in 5 days. All my drafts, okay, sorry, I have an anxiety problem, kind of. Okay, so I was extremely nervous and I wrote 7 drafts in 5 days. All my drafts were really good because, like I mentioned, I am a writer and I express myself best that way. So all my drafts proved a specific point, they were articulate, and one day before the talk, I realized that I couldn't end up coming here and saying even one of them to you. The reason for that is that I wouldn't be speaking from my heart. Even though all these drafts made so much sense, my journey till date has not made sense to me either. I never thought about everything when I was doing it, and I was simply just following my heart. So that's exactly what I'm going to try and do here today. I don't have $1 million idea. I don't have an idea for change. I just hope that at the end of this, I can convince or inspire at least one of you to go out and help someone in need. I'm a social worker and I work with acid attack victims. An acid attack is the worst possible crime you can commit on another human being. Unlike any other method of burning another person, when you put the fire out, the person actually stops burning. When you attack someone with acid, the damage is irreversible. The person keeps burning and the acid keeps penetrating through all 7 layers of the skin till it reaches the bone. The damage that an acid attack creates is not just on the appearance, but on the victim's mental health as well. So I want to start about telling you a little bit about my background. I studied at an amazing international school, and at this school I was very privileged to be studying at this school, but I was also extremely sheltered. I was sheltered because I was oblivious of what was happening in the world outside me. I studied abroad for 3 years, which ensured that again I was completely sheltered by the pain and suffering of my own country. While I was studying in the UK, nothing was capable of really moving me. I was extremely self-centered. Unless it had something to do with a boy, it would not hurt me, I promise you that. Or if it didn't have anything to do with myself. But I think something that shook me up along the way was an incident that shook up all of India. It was the Nirbhaya gang rape. And not only was I moved by it, so was an entire nation. The only difference was that even though I was shaken up by this entire incident, I didn't want to do anything about it. I was inspired, but I wasn't inspired enough to actually make a change. I believe that a trait that I share with the rest of my generation is the 5-minute obligation. So you're probably wondering what the 5-minute obligation actually is. It's a term that I give to the attention span that my generation has about something we should actually care about. And it's not just everyone, it was me as well. I was extremely self-centered, like I've already mentioned. So if you gave me like a world issue or something that I should actually, do something about, I would only care about it for a maximum of 5 minutes. It would shape me, it would inspire me, etc. But that was it. I would completely forget after that. So the day I saw a picture of an acid attack victim, I wasn't just astonished, I was extremely shaken up as well. Because I didn't think about this picture for just 5 minutes. I thought about it for a complete 3 days. Once the first day passed, the second day passed, the third day came around, I realized that my 5-minute obligation had been broken and that I have to do something about this. I was sitting all the way in the UK, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I went to my professors, and considering I was studying fashion, they were caught off guard. But I was never really passionate about anything before this. So when they saw the first sign of passion in my eyes, they were like, go for it. You know what, Ria, here's a video camera, go back to India. I think they just wanted to get rid of me at the time, but I'm glad they did. So I came back to India, I completed the rest of my degree via Skype, and I started making this documentary on acid attack survivors. You know, I've learned a lot of valuable lessons along the way, and you'll notice that the rest of my speech is going to be about what I've learned from my experiences. The first time I met an acid attack survivor, that's Sheila, she's the first survivor I ever met, something beautiful happened. See, I was in touch with this girl, and I used to talk to her on the phone when I was in the UK. That's before I came and met her. And she sounded so normal. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but she became a really good friend of mine. So the first time I actually went and met her, something called the Photoshop effect happened. Now you're probably again wondering what the Photoshop effect is. See, I'm sorry about this, I just have like small names for everything, like every aspect of my life. So the Photoshop effect is basically when you can't see a person's face. I'm sure we're all aware of the quote that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, or that there are children in Africa dying and starving and hence we should feel blessed. And since we're children, we've been told these quotes. But these quotes never really play a reality in our lives. This was the day that changed for me. The quote, "Do not judge a book by its cover," now is one of my biggest realities. The thing is that these pictures are more recent, but when I first met this girl, I caked on the makeup like I have today. And she saw me, and I don't think it was intentional. I didn't intentionally cake on the makeup, but I think that was my identity, and secretly I was pretty insecure as well. So when I met her, and I realized not to judge a book by its cover, I took a pledge not to wear makeup for 1 year, which meant that if I wasn't judging a book by its cover, I shouldn't care about if someone else was judging me by mine. So this day kind of changed a lot of things for me, and yeah, it made me a better person. So, yeah. My second experience that really stuck with me was the first time I visited a burns ward in a government hospital. I'm going to go back to talking about how ignorant I was, because I didn't think a ward had more than one patient. Or maybe I knew, but I didn't really think about it. So I walked into this ward, and the things that I saw in there were so unimaginably devastating that it left a really lasting impact on me. But that's not what I learned in the ward. What I learned in the ward was that while I walked in and I saw burnt bodies on beds, burnt bodies on floors, blood on walls, and I was surrounded by complete misery and blackness, I realized that misery is capable of miracles. Even in the blackest of situations, you will find hope. So when I was faced with misery, I had two options. One, I could go back to my protected lifestyle and go back to just not caring about anything, because it is human to want to forget bad memories. Or I could stick around and be constantly surrounded by pain and by suffering, and that's what I chose to do. I chose to do this because in that moment I realized that there's no such thing as complete blackness. And there is always hope in miserable situations. Somewhere along my journey, I met a really inspiring young individual. Her name was Monica Singh. Monica was attacked with acid when she was just 19. And the lesson that Monica has taught me is to dream big. No dream that you have will ever be small enough or big enough. You need to go after what you want, and that's exactly what Monica did. So Monica was attacked when she was 19. She was studying at NIFT at the moment. She has a passion for fashion. She was in her first year, and this happened while she was off for summer vacation. So Monica got attacked, and while all of us would understand if she quit, while all of us would understand if she never went back, Monica went back. Monica not only went back, but Monica graduated with the second highest rank in India. So normally most of us would stop there, even like the overachievers, right? But Monica made up her mind that she was going to study at one of the world's most competitive colleges for fashion, which was Parsons, New York. Anyone that likes fashion knows that Parsons is it. Parsons is the hardest institute to get into, and we all want to go to Parsons. So Monica was like, I'm going to go to Parsons. So I was like, all right, Monica, great, okay, fine, we'll go to Parsons. She comes back to me with an offer letter. Monica actually got into Parsons. Then she says, okay, so you know what, we need $50,000 to get me there. So I was like, okay, yeah, of course, I'll just go get it out of the bank because it's just lying there. But it wasn't lying there. That was a joke, by the way. Okay, so we didn't have the money. So I look at Monica and she's like, it's possible. And I just started off that time. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sure it is possible, I can't do it. But I realized that we put in the work and we worked hard together, and now Monica studies at Parsons. So that's great. So while I was in that Burns ward, I may have seen misery, I may have seen blackness, but Monica was definitely the white part of my entire journey. I think I've only seen true pitch black once. I met this girl, this survivor. Her name was Uzma. Now, Uzma had been attacked with acid, and I'd gone to meet her in the hospital, and she was suffering from 85% burns. 85% is a huge number. The first picture that I showed you of the first survivor I ever met had 20% burns, and she doesn't have half a face. So you can only imagine what 85% body burns actually are. I met Uzma in the hospital, and in that moment I was so struck by misery. But as a social worker, you constantly have to be in the gray. The gray is, the gray area, like I would like to call it, is full of optimism. It's full of hope. It's a transition phase. You have to be hopeful. So I think as a social worker, I was trying to stay in the gray, but I know for a fact what had happened to this girl was extremely terrible. She was in a bad situation. But through all of this girl looks at me and she says, अरे मैडम, आप इतना चिंता क्यों कर रहे हो? देखना, मैं ठीक होके उस आदमी को जेल में डालूंगी. Which, for all of you that don't understand what this means that she just looked up at me with extreme optimism and said she's going to put the man that did this to her behind bars. In that one instant, with her amusing dialogue, I was completely woken up. So, So this happened, but sadly, Uzma succumbed to her injuries 2 weeks ago and passed away in the hospital. What I learned from Uzma's death was that while I was signing that death certificate, I realized that the only time there can be pitch pure blackness is when someone closes their eyes for the last time. So if you would have asked me before this incident, is there a black, is there a white, is there a gray, I would have said, yeah, of course, I've seen misery in that Burns ward, that's black. But now I realize that there is no such thing as extreme black till you actually close your eyes for the last time. So you're probably wondering, okay, great, I've had this journey and it's taught me a lot of things. You're probably wondering why you should care about what I care about, right? And the answer to that question is because I'm going to demonstrate something really fast here, okay? And I don't know if this is going to work out really well for all of us, but we'll just see. This is how easy an acid attack actually is. This is why it should be your problem. Because it can happen to anyone. There is no strangulation, there is no blood, there is nothing. But what an acid attack can do is ensure that you live the rest of your life as a living corpse. Everyone believes that, a bad thing cannot happen to me. It just can't, It always happens to her, or her. But, there's nothing stopping something so simple from ruining your life. It is really that easy. 1,000 girls a year suffer and become the victims of an acid attack every year in India. And as a social worker, I want to tell you that those are just the reported number. That is not the true number. If this can happen around you, there's no reason it can't happen to you. Because this is not hard. It's as easy as throwing a glass of water on someone. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to end with this, and I'm going to show you 4 examples of what an acid attack can actually do to someone's life. And if you still believe that this is not your problem, then, well, then that's fine too. Thank you.